Welcome back to the LCS Championship. Cloud9 might just be 40 minutes away from going home for the rest of the year. TSM could cement the fate of their hardest rivals in the LCS, which would punch a ticket to top 3, punch ticket to Worlds, and the chance at their 8th LCS title.
And this would be back-to-back years for Cloud9, winning Spring and then missing out on Worlds, something they were always known for being the best NA team at Worlds, for having that success there. But TSM, obviously a rebuild for themselves, the retirement of Bjergsen, the exit of Doublelift. Bjergsen in his first year as a coach, now trying to lead his team towards Worlds, and has been a resurgence here in this series. They have looked very good.
Yeah.
To see some mix-ups, though, in the draft. First pick, Syndra.
This might not be an interesting story, but it was interesting to me for a while. For the
Thanks for the preface.
I know. For the longest time in the LCS, the winner of Spring could not win in Summer. This was TSM, then Cloud9, then TSM again, then CLG, and then TSM themselves finally broke the curse when they won 3 back-to-back, and then TO followed up with 4. But then it came true again. You won in Spring, you couldn't win in Summer anymore. Cloud9 are looking at, something that they kind of originated to a certain degree when they beat TSM in their first time in the LCS. When they beat them in 2013 Summer, they started that. The winner at the beginning of the year couldn't take it over at the very end. And here, TSM on the way to send Cloud9 down again, and the draft has changed. Syndra is the mid lane pick, and TSM still like the Lee Sin.
I wonder if it's just Varus here. Just take that away. Instead, interesting. So with the Orianna already banned out, they want to early pick their mid here. Varus very likely going to go over to Cloud9, though. It has been pretty dominant in bot throughout this series. Both games, when it was played by Lost and when it was played by Sven, it has looked good. It's off the Diana, back to the Xin. The Diana did not really work out here. Instead, it's going to be GP. Very interesting. So blind GP, so they can either answer top now or secure bot lane for themselves. Will there be parity in the draft here?
Yeah, blind top laner. I mean, we have seen Gangplank lose in the early game against Renekton.
Yeah.
Might not happen this time around as long as Fudge plays a bit more respect. And no, we get the gauntlet thrown. Jace into Gangplank. The goal is to win the barrel minigame. Now, the thing is, the barrel minigame is not the most important part. It is Gangplank grasp queuing you. That wins all the trades. But other than that, you eventually get to the point where you're going to be very, very rich, and it's much easier to get Jace's damage out than Gangplank's late game.
Yeah. I mean, you make it sound very easy. I do think a lot of it comes down to GP wants quick trades. You want the queue and then back out. Jace wants an extended trade, right? So you're trying to avoid the return fire there from the Jace. If the Jace can get an extended trade, that is where things can really start to go in his favor. And especially as you're building towards the Eclipse, you can start to shrug off a lot of that initial poke from that Q spam. So we'll see how Huni can play this out. This can go very Jace favored if you do get a lead. But likewise, if you fall behind, it's a very snowbally matchup. He can get too much damage on the side of the GP for you to really be able to shrug off, and the AD bans will come through, banning away Varus, knowing that Lost would probably grab it as his next pick. Kalista is the answer because there's not really any hard engage over on the C9 side, so I think they're trying to ban out not only a strong laner here, but something to facilitate what TSM sees Cloud9 missing from their draft. Tristana as well. It feels like maybe they're trying to push him down towards like an Ezreal again or something like that.
One final ban for Cloud9, and maybe one final game for them as well. Can they bring it back and win 2 straight and destroy their rivals in TSM, or is it going to be that top 3 for the gray and white? Ezreal into the list as well, as it's just 80 carry bans on both sides. Supports largely untouched, just the Thresh and Leona off the table.
And really, throughout the split, I mean, Sven didn't play all the games, but he has 5 Varus games, 5 Kalista games. Beyond that, it's just a couple games on each of these different champions. When you're looking down to his most played, there's 2 Aphelios, there's a Xayah game in there. I do think Ashe can be strong.
Yeah.
And I actually really like the pick here. I do think, especially when your jungler is playing this well, the Hawkshot becomes that much more valuable. You're working with more information, you're protecting your side laner in the Jace who wants to play this matchup aggressively. So tracking Xin is very valuable. Allows Spica to work with that extra information, allows Huni to play aggressively when they have him spotted out. Jhin is the answer. I think Jhin is actually pretty good here. It's a largely squishy comp. You could get a tank support for Sword Art. I think Braum would work really well as an answer into the Jhin, so that would be my go-to. But still, largely it's squishy members You have the ulti dropping from GP, Nautilus to follow it up. GP plus Jhin ult is always a pretty strong combo there, with Xin diving in, with Perks looking to burst someone who's slowed down, who's getting engaged upon. It's going to be a really exciting one here. I do like the draft more from Cloud9 than I have from the previous games. I think last game was much harder to execute than this one. I think that this is a more well-rounded composition, but I have a lot of concerns just based on how the top side of the map has been going this series, right?
Yeah.
Jace versus GP, very snowbally matchup. Lee Sin has been such a big pick for TSM, and if Spica can get Huni rolling, that can look ugly.
Lee Sin is undefeated. That said, Syndra is the most picked mid laner in top regions this patch. She is highly prized, and it's going to be in the hands of Perks trying to turn Cloud9's fates around. Yes, Braum can shield and block some of it, but you're expecting Syndra to have lane priority, to get to those side lanes and turn them around. I agree, historically, TSM has gotten the better of it. And honestly, I absolutely love Huni's Jace split pushing. He's the richest man on the map. He does 1 million damage. He is always a difference maker. He's great on the champion. The question is, can Perks be the one to put him in the dirt with the roams?
And we've just got to honestly see another level come out here from Cloud9. I think across all 3 games, they have been outplayed. In game number 2, they found a fantastic comeback, but TSM even was in a pretty significant advantage in that one. Games 1 and 3 were very TSM favored. Yep. TSM has looked better across the map.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you look at the regular season, Cloud9 was a top 4 early game team. In playoffs, they are bottom 2 above only Dignitas. It has not been a good look for the early game of Cloud9 in the postseason, and time and again, teams have taken it to them. This time around, though, you've got a Syndra, you've got a Jhin, you've got a lot of crowd control, hoping to find their action against TSM.
I wonder if Nautilus face checks this. This could actually, okay, he's just getting a deep ward, but Fudge could potentially be in some trouble. We don't actually know where they're wrapping around, but they'll be spotted. So he's going to be okay. But even though the level 1s haven't often actually resulted in anything in this series, I like that teams are trying it. I always do appreciate the level 1 prep going into a playoff series. If you get a first blood at level 1, it is actually such a tilter. Even just forcing a summoner can be such a big deal as far as the mental warfare.
Really minor thing, Fudge saw the Nautilus or the Braum Q fly out. So even though he didn't see a single model, his camera was still panned over, and as soon as we saw that Braum Q, he was like, hey, by the way, someone's there. They invaded, there's stuff going on there. I don't know what it is. I was hiding because I don't want to give up first blood, but something's going over there, just FYI. So this is some information they're going to have, kind of Fudge walking back and forth, doesn't quite know what's going on, you know, kind of juking behind what could be a Braum Q, and it's not going to mean too much just yet. They don't know for sure if it's going to start down there, unless Cloud9 got their own deep ward on the right side.
Nope, I don't think I ever saw Sven move forward. They weren't sure if everyone was there or not. They just knew some people were there, so I think they were kind of nervous to check. I mean, Ashe Braum is such an insane level 1 that it's like you basically can't take a fight against this. Yeah. It is interesting to see Dark Harvest on Jhin. We haven't seen a lot of Jhin in general, but that is a very atypical rune. You generally just see fleet footwork and those types of things. So interesting to see how it will pan out. If you can trade heavily, if you can get people low, get those procs rolling, it can be very valuable. And of course, we'll see if it's going to be that kind of a scrappy game, but I do really favor the 2v2 on TSM side. I just think Ashe Braum is so tough to deal with. Putting up the wall for the force shot from Jhin negates so much of the burst that is going to come through, and that's something that is always going to be a struggle in this type of lane. If you hook in, they can just actually even turn on the Nautilus, throw up the door. The Ashe focuses the Nautilus, proc the passive from the Braum very quickly with those 3 quick Halo Blades hits, but that's big.
Yeah,
he can flash auto Q.
Barrel, flash auto. Q will nearly kill. He will not quite burn. Flash for flash. Fudge is going to force an earlier recall to Huni, and he's got Sin Zhao control. Blabber doing a nice top control path.
Ooh.
Red Raptor's Gromp into blue. Make sure you're around in case there's a gank.
So there were 3 extra minions on Huni's side, so he knows the wave is going to push towards him, so he bases to come back for the TP, and they have a wraparound gank here. This is actually so smart. He's baiting them into this.
Blabber, can he get? No, he's too close to the turret. Reads it enough. Huni's able to walk away, use the gate, and get just out.
I feel like Blabber went too early. I think you could have just waited a little bit more. Huni has to reset the wave. So there's no need to press that fast. The wave is pushing away from him. Even if you're just going to get him to like AFK back, well, you're winning out in that regard. Either way, the wave still should be slightly pushing towards him. You have the cannon, you have the extra range minions, so Fudge can continue to just kind of trim this wave so it can't get fully reset and try to hold it on his side. It is interesting because even with that really big first trade, there was no buy for Fudge because he started corrupting. So he went back to basing out a pink ward. That was his buy. They based so early. that he did refill the potions, but he could be punished heavily here. Even though he won out in that early scrap, if Spica gets up here and they force his flash or force him back to base, well, getting forced back to base without TP is 10 times as bad.
Well, it's not Huni trying to make it a slow push. He's got to bring his jungler back over, though. Both junglers are here, though. Fudge down a half HP. Lands a Sonic Wave. Not going to be a kill. Fudge actually just spammed his keyboard and controlled his own turret. Now Blabber wants in. Not going to find the damage. Blabber, he's going to fall. He jumped in to die first. Blood goes to Spica.
Of course it is Spica, the absolute king of the jungle in this one. Dominating on the top side. Blabber can't make it happen. Spica shows up top, and where Spica goes, TSM wins. They get the kill. First blood on the Lee Sin here. He has been dominant on the pick and now has a pretty significant advantage here. It's all about the bait from TSM. Both sides tried the same play. It was Fudge trying to set it up there on Huni, but then as he goes in, there's no minions in between him. Right the safeguard over onto Huni, does hit the Q. Fudge stays alive with the Q, but there's not enough damage here from Blabber. Blabber's going forward. He doesn't have the red buff. He's not able to actually finish them off. Spica just has the safeguard. Fudge can't follow up. He has no flash to actually get in there. He didn't have barrel charges to actually follow up with that either, so there just wasn't enough damage after the initial spells are used. Blabber's going to run out of gas, and he ends up going down.
The end result, though, is very tight gold. Keep in mind that first blood is 600 with the assist, and yet the FTX gold advantage only 108 because laning phases are going well elsewhere. An extra wave for Sven, a bit for Perks, even a little bit on Blabber's side, and obviously that nearly 10 CS lead for Fudge. So don't say die just yet. Perks is going to flash him into the turret, but that damage barely matters. Spica able to force another summoner spell.
Thumbs up. Another gank, another successful one there from Spica. Putting so much pressure on here. Yes, he's down a camp or two, but who cares? He got a kill on top side. He forces a flash out on mid. And these are matchups where it sucks not having that flash available. You know, Perks wants to posture aggressively, wants to threaten the Azir, try to trade with him, try to get himself into a good spot. But without flash, it's very risky to do so. So Sword Art just showing up mid, allowing PoE to get the push, to get the reset here. And we'll see if he wants to stay around for the full push. He wants to try to deny this recall and punish Perks, who's missing health.
And they're just going to shove the wave in as fast as possible. You know, use the Braum stack, just spam abilities on the Azir. Perks is, okay, if you're going to burn cooldowns, then I will take this wave. I don't want to lose an entire one. Obviously, there's no cannon, so I'll lose the entire thing. Don't have TP. Fair enough. Gets most of it.
Spica has been spotted, and Blabber is here. We'll see if he likes his odds.
Blabber knows Spica doesn't know for sure Sinjau's here.
Yeah, and I don't think they know the Sword Art is here now. So now they know all you can do is defend the dive. You can't actually do anything aggressive with Braum showing on that ward. So a good ward from Cloud9. You know, this one right here actually paying a lot of dividends. Catches Spica walking out of the brush. Catches Sword Art moving up towards that side. So just trying to stabilize. Trying to keep Fudge safe. Fudge was winning in the 1v1. He's up farm. He is playing the really powerful scaling pick here in the GP. So they're not in that much trouble. Even Sven going for the call here pretty early, you know, looking to scale up himself. Cloud9 have, I think, a better late game comp than they did last time. There is still a lot of power, you know, in this Braum, Ashe, Azir, that kind of trio in particular, I think, on the TSM side. But I do think that Cloud9 are not just doomed if it's going late.
I agree. They're not doomed, and, you know, the gold lead is nothing much to speak about. Guardian's going to go ahead and block a Jhin Q, and they're just going to keep knocking on the waves with dematerializers to keep the waves, you know, somewhat pushed out. They don't want to have to, you know, last hit the entire thing on a turret. It really sucks for Jhin to try to do that, so pretty understandable there. And ultimately, Hawkshot comes across, and, you know, Lost wants to know what's going on over there. Not a whole lot. Has the boots, too. Able to dodge away from things like Nautilus hooks. Of course, he ran heal, not cleanse. That's going to help him not get one-shot by a Syndra combo. I would actually expect a Shield Bow Wit's End build here for Lost against Syndra and Gangplank ult, and even some Nautilus are pretty meaningful magic damage. Worth noting that even though Braum can block Syndra, Braum cannot block Nautilus ultimate. That one bypasses things like Wind Walls. So, you know, there's always going to be some threat on Lost, even with one of the best defensive supports.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, GPL gets dropped on your head. They dive in on you. It's difficult to deal with that. I do think that the defensive build really suits Ashe, and that's a champion that I had kind of first seen it get really a lot of play with, is that Shield Bow Wit's End. You use that to try to stay safe here, and but he's got to be careful. One more Q in the ulti from Fudge could be a death. So he's gotta make sure he's not getting poked needlessly, but just trying to spend his health to reset the wave, and will get it into the tower, so should be fine.
Yep, just going to take the last hits, eat some more, and just help keep the health bar at a decent spot. But hey, you know what? Why have one orange when you can have 5? Honey fruit, just it's more health, and it gives you mana instead of costing it. It's just better.
Overpowered.
Yeah, Huni just gets way more fruit.
It's really a citrus gap.
Yeah, true. I know they're honey fruit, but it's fun to call them oranges.
Yeah, they all look kind of similar. Anyway, we
they're green, just like oranges are.
All right, they're little blobs, freak. Okay, let's not get too specific here. Perk's heading back towards mid, got the blue for himself. We'll see what he can get done. Both mid laners obviously playing Comet, playing more towards the laning runes here, looking for the poke, looking for this trading pattern. And it's mostly just been Sorter out of lane, honestly. You know, it feels like he has been covering mid, moving around towards top very heavily. Vulcan has been more staying in lane on bot side, and it has gotten them tempo, but not much more than that.
Herald play. The duo lane recall out of Cloud9. They've both run up to the mid lane to now play for Rift Herald. 5v4. Lost has shoved in a wave, so that is some gold denied, and now he's on a recall to join his team. Has arrow, can cross map it, but isn't in range to fight. So Cloud9 takes the play 5v4. And even though Fudge is under his turret, of course, has his own global, and as Huni walks up, it looks like it's going to be given over. And that is going to be the case. Rift Herald to be claimed for Cloud9. The cost is 1 minion wave. Not too bad. And they're looking for a bit more. Vulcan would like to catch Huni, but he's not going to go for it. Going to get a root onto the Lee Sin and then just get right back out.
Yep, gets out of there, no problem. It's a good play there from Cloud9. You know, that really is the advantage of Vulcan staying in lane versus Sorter spending all his time roaming. You know, they got Prio down on the bot side. It didn't really establish itself as a CS advantage, but it got them the Herald, and we'll see where that is going to go, where they want to attack. You know, I would expect, generally you see them going towards things like the Azir, and even pretty smart, just using the TP from Huni, send him down bot, allows Zen to collect this, but they're nervous that they can't even stay around to actually pick it up because Spica is here.
I don't think he wanted that Q. If that lands, I think Vulcan dies. I think he's happy Dredgeline did not land. At the end of the day, they're able to get the wave. They do not lose a second turret played up top. And TSM, they're recalling on a ward. This can be some level E over the wall. Now he's going to flash in. Oh, as the rest of the team is gone, Stordart's left alone. A risky recall location is punished. He has flash, he has exhaust. He's going to dodge every single skill shot but one as Perks claims the kill in the end.
Going to be able to grab that kill. Nicely played. That ward paying dividends, waiting till most of the people did finish the recall. I think they wanted Spica. That was like the big target, but they do end up getting a kill for the flash. Nicely done. Unfortunately, I don't think any Dark Harvest proc actually was grabbed by his Ven because he couldn't hit. He has 1 stack, so it's something, but not going to be the most there. Does look like he's going towards probably just the Gale Force, have that mobility. And Lost should be going shield bow. I'm very much assuming. He hasn't picked up a longsword, so you don't know for sure, but yeah, it's pretty safe to assume.
Just full damage. You know, we're going Kraken Slayer, Hurricane. We're just running in there. It's unlikely, but
I'd respect it.
I wouldn't, actually. I'd be like, I know what you're going for, but I think it's wrong.
I wouldn't think it's good, but I'd respect it.
See, if I just don't respect things that are wrong. You know, it's like you got to be right or don't bother. Or at least have some logic behind it, and I don't think there's much for a Kraken Slayer build here. In the way, easy to collect the waves. Fudge is going what I believe to be the superior build, which is Trinity Force Gangplank. Unless you need to be the frontliner, there's the logic of, okay, I must go Divine Sunder Asterix, I must be durable to play frontline, but that is weaker than playing damage Gangplank. Guess what? You've got to Singe out and Nautilus play frontline. If you're frontlining the GP, you're playing GP wrong. You've got 2 other meatballs to do that job. Go deal damage, you know, go do an Essence Reaver build or a Trinity Force build and go about that. Go about it that way.
And I think that the hard engage on the side of TSM isn't threatening enough that he feels like he needs that, you know, for them to try to dive onto him. TSM then moving up towards topside. Spica is here again, and oh, nice buffer.
But yeah, so Vulcan with the Merc Treads is able to stretch line out as low. It never even hit him. Nicely done by Vulcan. The first arrow of the game does nothing from Lost.
Those are the plays that look simple, but those are actually like the high skill Nautilus plays. Yep. Those are one of those things that you can do. And he pretty much makes that ultimate for nothing while his jungler is farming. He would have died there for sure if that connects, and then Spica gets behind him, kicks you in. Trying to go for a scuttle here on the bot side as well. Blabber just been kind of farming his way back in. I think was moving over in case the scatter did actually land onto Power of Evil, but of course it did not, so ends up having to clear the camp twice.
That's fine. You collect your Raptors, you go back for a full clear. Looks like they're not able to go for bottom scuttle as there is bot lane pressure for the Jace. Indeed, Gangplank was on a recall. Trinity Force is in. Again, very much prefer this build. I think it's the correct one in most games for a Gangplank. Not literally all of them, but in most of them. As now the Eclipse is also through for the Jace. And that is, of course, going to be some lifesteal that'll matter a fair bit. Not going to land the first Q. And just going to be Fudge knocking down this wave.
Yep, going to be able to clear this up, trying to farm his passive as much as possible at this point. You can see he's prepping a lot of the waves, trying to farm the doubloons, get those upgraded ultis, because the timings on that, we don't really talk about it a lot in Pro anymore because this champion has kind of just been out forever. But getting the good timings on your ulti upgrade can actually be really impactful. Death's Daughter especially, the true damage on that center hit can be really impactful in some of these fights. Just adds so much damage.
Well, Mooney on the walk away. Fudge hope he can close the gap for his Q. Doesn't have boots though, and so doesn't have the movement speed quite to catch him. But top lane's under fire. Does not find the second turret plate. However, still is getting some split push pressure. And I got to point out, as much as TSM have been owning the early games, it is Cloud9 firmly ahead in gold in this one. And some of that is Gangplank, but not all. They are directly out-farming and out-killing their opponents.
Yeah, they are playing, I think, a lot better this time around, despite that first blood going over to Spica, despite not being able to make good in this 1v1. Fudge has still been having a great time. You know, he didn't really get punished himself for that play. It was more Blabber that got set back a little bit, and Blabber has been able to farm well. Spica has not been able to find any subsequent plays to actually snowball his advantage. So while they just kind of absorb all of these ganks coming through from Spica, Blabber is farming, and it's now Cloud9 moving towards this dragon here. It is a very late first one compared to the rest of the series.
So we heard an ulti come across, I believe, towards the top lane to keep the turret alive, but it might not quite do that. Cannon is still up there, and Lost putting out some decent damage on the Ashe. First dragon of the game is killed much later than the previous. Fudge takes, I believe, 2 turret shots for the aggression. Still is going to push Huni off the turret, make him lose some XP and gold. Demolish is triggered, and now they're going for a little bit more. Smite is going to land for Spica. He has the blue buff. A little bit of poke from Huni, but again, bot lane wave is entirely denied off this aggression.
They are going to lose that top tier 1, and it looks like the race is going to be won by TSM. They will get it just slightly, but still, first turret gold going to them. The solo gold onto Fudge, going to be nice in this winning matchup. They're trying to get him the edge, trying to maintain side lane control. Because no one else from TSM really wants the side lane. Azir does not want to be there. Yes, you can have some roams come through, but generally you're feeling pretty safe, I think, in the side lane as a GP, as long as you are winning that 1v1, given there's not a lot of hard engage you can't deal with.
Stops the recall real quick, knocks down the waves. Ven's doing pretty well, equals CS across against the Ashe. It is indeed Shield Bow, as that item comes across now for the TSM bot laner, and indeed moving towards the Wit's End. Cool, all right, we called the build. Good job, Azale. We are indeed smart. It's expected anyway, but good to see it all the same. As we push towards the second Herald of the game. The first one is just kind of thrown down in mid lane for 2 turret plates. That money went over to Blabber. I feel like for the second one now is, well, hold on. TSM are coming over for this one. Level lead for Spica does not matter for the smites, but it could for the fight. As they put the damage across. No, it will still be secured. 100 gold for the objective, and should finish a turret in one of these side lanes.
Yeah, we'll see where they want to drop it. I'm kind of expecting it maybe towards mid even, but if they want to try to get access to those tier 2s, that's definitely an option as well. And man, farming up Krugs always feels so good on GP. You get so much passive gold off the little Krugs. It's actually pretty insane how much extra gold you do get. So actually, I'm surprised he didn't use another barrel there to pick it up, but maybe he doesn't have any charges.
Yeah, he just got his charge back. So he's like, well, I could wait, but I'll just take the bot lane wave with it,
Yeah,
so, you know, whatever.
Makes sense if you're going to miss the lane.
Right, so, okay. It's fine, it's whatever. You got there at the end of the day, and we're looking good. Steel caps are in. Keep in mind, that is triple AD for TSM. There is a lot of crowd control, but of course, being Gangplank, he can ignore a lot of it by just eating orange at the right time. So, logical build here as well, especially against his matchup against Jace.
It's kind of interesting, because this is the second game now. They had the Oriented game earlier where they have a ton of AD threat, kind of forcing armor out from your opponents, and then Power of Evil just kind of gets to run rampant, right? He is that big AP threat, but he is a serious AP threat on the Azir. They're going in!
Flash Q's gonna land, Power of Evil gonna scoop backwards. Will he survive? Also flashes out, jumps back to his minions, and he's gonna be okay. Sword on the front line, gonna stopwatch one of the ultis. In the front line now is Blabber, tries to stay alive. It's gonna be 1 for nothing. He's out of range of Ashe. Finally, the ulti ends, and Lost trades him back. A 1-for-1 teamfight, jungler for support. More XP gained by TSM as Cloud9 retreats.
There's that scrap 1-for-1 at the end of the day. The bigger kill for TSM, but they are kind of poked down a little bit more, so we'll see if C9 can get anything off of this. But it's Spica again, just looking aggressively, seeing if he can find any sort of a lazy recall on someone low on health here. And just word over the wall, spot him, no hesitation. Lost immediately flashes, but it means that Power of Evil is the one that's going to take the hit. And there is this kind of combo I was talking about. You drop the GP ult, they're slowed down, they're trying to retreat through that, and Jhin is ulting on you from long range. The rest of the team is piling in, and it does make it very difficult because you can't just camp in the GP ult and take the fight. You've got to be able to get out of that and then turn and fight. And even though it was pretty even, the Summoners did go pretty heavily in the favor of Cloud9, so that's something that I hadn't mentioned first time around. Without Flash on Ashe, without Flash on this Azir, they're much more susceptible to that the second time around. Ashe especially, having no dash, it's very difficult to get out of those kind of situations.
Spica checks a brush, not going to see anyone there. Okay, control ward, and look into the western jungle. He's going to spot Gangplank, but it may not matter. We are 1 minute away from the Dragon spawning. Now, Soul is not a likely objective in this game, but Dragons are still some free stats for sometimes very low effort. Pee-wee going to look into the bottom lane. Fudge has Flash, burns it. Tries to get away, but a Flash kick into the wall means Spica can set him up, and they should just have the damage, and they do. In the top lane, a 2v1, TSM knock down Fudge.
They get the kill. It is the Flash off of Spica, but they're going to push this in. Thankfully for C9, Fudge will be up with teleport prior to the next dragon if they want to keep moving towards that. Yes, it's unlikely they will reach Soul, but you can use that to pressure your opponents to control the pace of the game here. And TSM making a proactive play, finding something for themselves, shutting down Fudge for the first time this game, who has been having a pretty good go of it. They're just farming it up. Looks like he's going Ravenous Hydra second, which is a great side lane build. It pretty much just means you don't care at all about any of the poke that's going to come through from Jace. Oh, that's not even going to get a charge.
Wow, not in range for the charge. That's a pretty big deal because that, I believe, would have just about secured the mid turret. It was very close. Depends on what level their Herald actually was. It was a very early second Herald, so it may have been sub 2500, but either way, that turret's like, one hit at worst.
Yeah.
Dragon is alive. That's the important thing to look for as PoE is back on the map. He is walking his way down. Right now, the river belongs to Cloud9, but they haven't started the Dragon just yet. They're taking their time with this one, even though TSM aren't yet around. Now it's going to begin. Blabber mistimes his dash. It won't mean a ton, but, loses half a second. Blue buff now under fire. Nice yoink by Perks. I don't believe they can guarantee it just yet, but they buy a hell of a lot of time. Spike comes in. Nice! That is really good. That is really good. They claim the blue. They're going to try to claim the dragon. They will do so, but the arrow landed onto Perks. The man couldn't flash a 3,000 range skill shot, but a great snipe by Lost all the same. Time to run away is going to be enough. Spica does not have flash, but does he have a ward? No. Nowhere to hop to, so we can't get a backwards kick. Vulcan takes the Q. They cannot kill him at a turret, though. One kill picked up, but a blue and an Ocean Drake claimed.
That blue take was hilarious. Dragging all the way to the Dragon Pit so that it can be smited and then just taken down. Fudge not going to be able to get the top lane tower, so they do at least get a TP off Power of Evil. One kill for the Dragon I think you're pretty happy about. And I'm not sure if Perks actually, from where he died, had to angle to flash the wall. He could have obviously flashed to the side or something like that to dodge it, but it's always hard to know if you'll get out. Either way, great arrow there from Lost. Gets them the kill. Pee-wee pushing on the top side, but Vulcan and Perks are heading up there to match, so don't think it's going to be safe up here for much longer.
Alrighty, well, looking at a little something here as Vulcan's going to spot Power of Evil. As long as you always have one soldier up, there's really no way for not as a surprise kill you, and out you go. Good to see Lord Dominic's over collector for Sven. The basic math works out that across those items, the armor pinch is going to be worth more than the lethality, even with some raw AD. In pretty much all targets. So just kind of mathematically the correct build, unless you are getting the collector execute value, which is hard for someone like Jhin to do. You don't damage very frequently compared to, say, a Kai'Sa, where it's pretty easy with a Kai'Fi and Rain to hit someone to 5% and be the execute. Logically, it makes a lot of sense here for Jhin to be going this way. And now we get to look at the mid lane under fire yet again. 2-0 on Dragons, on pace for about a 31-minute Mountain Soul if possible. It may indeed happen. The gold basically tied, and with the two Dragons, maybe a slightly favor Cloud9 here in Game 4.
Yeah, and with the pace of the game, we initially thought, hey, this might not actually go to Soul, but if this pace continues, it could, right? We're now 8 minutes, 9 minutes away, depending on how quickly they kill those Dragons, but C9 looking like they might want to take a fight.
Flashes, look for the Q. Lost going to flash that one again, finds his stun. This is going to be a lot of CC. Gets the ulti across, but they will still knock down the Nautilus. Aftershock or not, doesn't matter. They have the damage to kill him. And now mid lane could be under even more fire, but Cloud9 have the wave clear.
I'd be more worried about them taking even more from this. They're going to lose vision for sure. It won't be any sort of an aggressive early Baron play, because Lyra was still alive, but trade of flashes ends up not being that bad. They're going to try to chase down on Huni. They will force the flash there as well. So Cloud9 actually coming out ahead. Yes, you lose your support, but I think getting the flash off of Lost, getting the flash off of Huni prior to this next Dragon fight is actually more valuable than the couple hundred gold and the flash of Vulcan.
Interesting. We'll see if that happens, of course. He does have Hex Flash, so there is a weak summoner still available to get over walls and maybe surprise with distance. TSM are going to be the ones to own most of the Dragon Pit, or Baron Pit. I do want to point out, again, these wards that are not inside the pit are the right ones to put down. You have to put a control ward inside the pit to spot the backside. So that is like the required control ward area. So put your stealth wards in a ring outside of that vision cone, and now your wards stay up, and you can spot people walking into Baron. You prevent the sneak, and you're immune to the default control wards.
Exactly. I mean, this is another good example of warding right here. You know, this ward as well as, oh, well, we're moving. Never mind.
Rip.
My skill shot accuracy there. It's looking bad. It's like me playing Ezreal. It's very similar. So, I mean, those wards, though, it's like you know where they're going to put the pink. So you place your wards out of the vision, right? This ward, they are both around that area. They're covering this section, but without being able to be spotted by the pink. So you're making your opponents then commit a sweeper to also catch those kind of things. So I think it's common play, but it is smart stuff. It's things that you can always use in your own games very easily as well. Sword Art down here to the bot side, trying to get full vision control for Huni. TSM running this side of the map, honestly. You just look at the vision down here. It's all TSM. They're trying to close in and threaten Fudge here, who's without his ulti, but does have a big barrel there on Huni, and no way you're looking for the dive now.
So Ravenous Hydra done. That's a lot of ability haste. Some extra move speed as well, and incredible wave clear. Fudge will have his ulti up almost at all times, coming up in just a couple seconds right now. Ready to play cross map, and honestly, yeah, if you can just drain tank against the Jace, right, like he has Eclipse, but you have Ravenous Hydra. You're like full healing off of every wave. Like that, and then you're like, oh, by the way, I have an ulti as global, so I'm holding the side lane, no problem, and I'm better cross map, so, you know, bring it.
I think it's really smart. You know, the one thing where it can kind of get a little bit dicey is if you show up to a 5v5, you are obviously much easier to burst down than if you had Sterak. So that is the trade-off. Their team being in, they want to play for the Dragon. It's not for the flank. It is to get vision, to poke, to control this area, but they're, oh, that was a good sidestep.
Almost catches Spica, not going to do so, but yes, 5v5 for the Dragon. This would be the third for Cloud9, the first of the game for TSM. Going to find some damage on Huni, not much more. There's a pull in and a Sword Art, going to stun him, but not much more. Supports both back off. Arrow's going to go wide for Lost. Here we go. Barrels are up. Going to find damage on the Spica. Not much more just yet, but now Fudge is getting poked, and now he wants to touch that mid lane wave. He can heal up off of it if he can get his way over there. Slowed down by a 3-hit volley. Sadly, it is Perks taking the wave. That's maybe a miscommunication, but it still ends in Cloud9 saying, we're going to go mid. We will give you a Dragon. The first Dragon doesn't matter too much. We'll take the turret. Generally going to be worth more that gold than the mountain stats. But the Soul Thread, of course, is a relevant
TSM could want to fight. They're kind of in an awkward spot here.
Okay, Vulcan dropped the half HP. Ult goes wide for Sword Art, jumps away, stays alive. Here comes the Jin ulti. Yes, they want in. Gangplank ult's going to find 4. Locket buys a lot of time, but Lost. They know he's flashless. You called it, Azael, and we're on to the next one. Spica down to 100 health, and Cloud9 are hungry. They smell blood, and Sven from downtown shoots them to hell.
They could go over towards Baron. Do they want to try this? They are recalling, but it's just on their soul laners, I believe, so they can actually TP back. I think they're going to commit to the Baron here. That was so huge. Capitalizing on the earlier trade of flashes from Vulcan in the mid lane. They kill off Lost. They kill off Spica. Cloud9 looking in control, but Varus and Asir are very strong.
They are,
but defending this.
Lost and Spica can't get here in any reasonable time. It's Smite versus nothing. This should always go to Cloud9. Blabber has Smite. This should always be theirs. It's gonna be smitten. Well done. Now PoE is in the pit. He tried for the miracle play, and he gets a kill, but there is no way out. He denies a Baron buff. The Ash Arrow's gonna just pop that Eternal +1, and out you go.
Nice try, though, from Power of Evil. Actually getting the flash off Perks, getting a kill, not bad in that situation whatsoever, but still, I love the aggressive follow-up there from Cloud9, because in isolation, when you look at plays like that traded flash and death for Vulcan in mid lane, many people will be quick to criticize that. But Cloud9 tracks the summoner, finds the window to capitalize on it, and it's so big to make those sorts of aggressive plays here. It's all about the re-engages. TSM are posturing to try to find a fight. They think that they have a good angle here to get it. As Vulcan goes in, TSM do move forward, but now you are grouping up here in this section. Jin ulti comes through, GP ulti dropped on your head. It's everyone for themselves. Blabber flashes right in on Lost. He can't get out of the GP ulti. He's slowed up because he has no flash of his own. And then this, someone needed to try to block it, but they just weren't aware of the W coming in. It snipes out the jungler, allows them to grab the Baron here. Power Evil trying to get some heroics, but Blabber is still barely in range to actually smite it. Was a good attempt, because, I mean, if you can get him a little bit further, like, he gets it midair. If that's a split second earlier, maybe the Baron isn't in range for smite, and that gets really dicey, but still worth your life. You get a flash, you get a kill.
Looking at it, PoE wants in, flash scoops two, and Fudge is down. Next up is Blabber, but they can turn back. Jin's got to land the shots, hits PoE, Perks knocks him down. The front line of Blabber, he's so dead, and he is. But it's a 1-for-1. Syndra finds a second as Perks has a double kill to his name, and this 3v3 could look good. Not going to find the stun to speak, but they will get the root, and that might be enough. A flash for Vulcan. He wants it, he's going to get it, and now the ult is going to get lost yet again. Gale Force gets nothing done, though. It targets Sword Art. Stun's going to land on the AD carry. Sven gets the crit. Lost wants it, Lost can't find it, and now at the end, Sven gets the last kill. Cloud9 get the Bud Light ace.
Knocking him down. The skirmishes coming through here from Cloud9, winning out in these little fights. Perked is huge now, 5-1-3 on the Syndra, having a good game in the 1-2 comfort zone, lower bracket here. Perks battling back. It is TSM on the initial engage, and the first play here is great from Power Evil, but it's committing a lot to take down Fudge. Blabber is so tanky. Look how long he actually lasts. Steric's pop. He is out over onto the Braum, so the ulti is absorbing a lot. He has the big Gore Drinker proc there into the stopwatch, all buying time for Perks to arrive to knock down Huni, and then it's about the chase here. The root again from Sven, setting himself up. Alley-oop off the backboard. He gets the auto, gets the W root. Vulcan kiting back, pulling Lost in. The stopwatch comes through, buying time for the cooldowns. The hook comes back up. The shield comes back up. They get one. They get two. Cloud9 looking for more as we're back to live.
Spica has a flash, does it, jumps back to his teammate, stays alive. 50 seconds till the dragon comes up. This would be Cloud9's third on the way to a Mountain Soul. They've got mid pushed in, but they've still, again, got time to play with. Baron buff is timed out. FPX field advantage, 4,500, but you know they'd love to get the soul point.
And point your eyes again to the missing summoners. This is what Cloud9 has been so consistent with this game. Punishing summoners that are missing. Huni has no flash. Power Evil has no flash. Those are going to be the targets in the next team fight. It's not going to be about the Ashe.
Says, okay, I have to burn the cleanse. Waited, said, yeah, it's too close. I've got to go ahead and put this cooldown. Wanted to save it if he could have, but it's not going to matter. So, top lane tier 2 was killed. Gold in the pockets of Huni that he can't spend just now. Muramana in, triple item spike. Steric's now done third for Fudge. He's decently tanky if he needs to be now. But the river is completely controlled by Cloud9. They push back Sorta. This is an easy solo, send 1 or 2 down there, and that dragon's going to be claimed. TSM knows it, TSM back off, and Cloud9 going to get their third dragon.
And once Sven hits his IE, as he already has, you know, the burst just ramps up so much on these squishy champions. If you can force out the Braum wall at a poor timing, if you can get an early hook on that and then disengage, the Braum wall is used, well, now all of a sudden, the burst from Jhin is so incredibly threatening. On champions like Azir, Jace, Ashe, all of those champions, a fourth shot is so much of your health. With GP ulti on your head, with the ultis coming through, it is really, really scary. Jhin plus Syndra is a nasty burst combo there, and Cloud9 are on soul point, are up 3.5k FTX gold. They are looking good here to try to force a game 5, but TSM have playmakers of their own. They have Spica here on the Lee Sin to try to find a kick, to try to find a play on one of these squishy carries, on the Jhin, on the Syndra, to try to turn something around.
Taking the time. 1 minute until Baron comes back up for Cloud9, and that might just push them over the edge here in this one. They haven't really cracked TSM's base. Mid lane tier 2 is gone, but the really important lanes are the sides. Those are the inhibitors that give you extra map control, because you have to be kind of more sequestered on the opposite side of the map to control it, and it makes it much easier to fight for your objectives. Otherwise, it's just kind of comparatively easier to control mid. Lost going to be handed the red buff. This will be higher DPS, but the slow will not matter at all. His passive's already better than that. But we've got ourselves a look at mid lane. Once again, Cloud9 going to try to push this one in first. Will be contested, of course. And all 5 are around. Nice body block there for Sword Art. Tanky enough that no one's going to go in off that route. The Perk's coming around. Flash engage. He's going to look for the knockup. Almost gets the one. Ulti coming across now as well. And just elite power of evil. Next one up. It's Lost. Taking 400 damage just for a full health shot. As the turret comes alive, we know Baron's up in 7 seconds, and Smite has been saved by Blabber.
It's all about punishing the missing summoners. Again, this time, it's Power of Evil without a flash, and they're just going to keep going forward. He's got to be careful, though.
Yeah, loses the Sterix gauge. He's pretty tanky, though, all the same. He can kind of heal up a little bit onto the Baron, but they still want the fight a little bit here. But a big Shock Blast means this is going to be a bit worse. Fudge can heal back up. That's what's kind of tough. Cloud9 are going to walk over as mid lane's pushed. Power of Evil respawns in 20 seconds. It's going to make this Baron attempt really tough with low health bars.
Yeah, it does get tough because they took too long, right? And they spent multiple flashes now, so even though they got that kill on PoE who had no flash, he has flash, he has TP, he can rejoin here, and this is giving tempo on the map to TSM because Cloud9 had the overchase, they didn't get any kills, and now it's TSM's window to try to pressure around Baron, to try to force cooldowns here out from Cloud9, who now can't base.
Control ward be damned, they're going in for it right now. Can Cloud9 stop this? TSM making an aggressive play.
Fast.
Early damage coming across, and they can just burn it. There's not going to be a chance for a steal. That's a clean smite. Well played, TSM. They punish the overchase by Cloud9, and just like that, TSM are back in the game.
Really well done from TSM. It's these small windows. Cloud9 want to play aggressive, want to try to chase in for these extra kills. And when you don't get them, it gives opportunities for your opponents to make counter plays like this. The death cap is completed, Azir TP's in, and Azir just absolutely shreds the Baron here with the help of the Rageblade Axe. That is a lot of damage to focus down these targets, but Cloud9 still can look towards the Mountain Soul, and it's really, again, it's all about who doesn't have flash. Punish that carry. Flash in on Power of Evil. As he dashes back out, GP ulti on his head, Perks flashes in, nails the combo, bursts him down immediately. This Azir Tower got a lot of work done, though, from the grave here, as Blabber wanted to go forward, but Fudge is not really with the squad, and as you go in, you're kind of in this awkward spot where Lost is kiting back, using the Halo Blades really well to proc the Braum passive. Sword Art from the side is just playing such nice bodyguard there. You know, dropping the Qs, applying the passive so they can do that, and then Hootie hitting a couple big shock blasts, put Cloud9 so low that they wanted to try to go reset. TSM didn't let them.
Death Cap and Banshees in for Perks. Not the zoning, but the Banshees to spell shield the arrow. Speaking of which, it's going to land on a Blabber. The ulti comes across, making him hard to kill. Still out of range of most of it, and they're just not going to shut him down. Sterix pops, he's okay. Nah, loses the Guardian Angel. This could be enough. Can TSM get it on the re-engage now? They're going to find some decent damage. One kill picked up. Fudge pushing the top lane. Will not kill Hoonie. If he can recall, they can save it. Speaker low. He's going to get rooted yet again, and Lost has nowhere to go. It's going to be a kill picked up, and they've got to just keep running and running and running because Gangplank is knocking down the base. Baron or not, TSM take the worst half.
They're going to try to chase him down. We'll see if they want to look for this. Sword Art and Speaker are heading up there. They will cancel. They're starting to recall. So he's going to get out. He's actually going to be able to get this now spotted, but he has enough of his team around. The other TSM members have recalled, so you can't really get anything done there. You take down Lost, you look to pressure the map, and that is critical because the Dragon is going to be up here. Lost will be dead for longer than Blabber, so maybe TSM can't contest this. We'll have to see if Speaker can get in. He's missing his flash.
Missing an AD carry makes it pretty tough to win the team fight. His stopwatch is down on Lost, so even when he respawns, he won't have that. Fudge takes a bit of damage from the Jace poke.
Play.
Not going to land it there from Vulcan. Good sidestep for Power of Evil, and the bottom river is going to TSM because they have the jungler. The 4-on-4 is close enough that they say, nah, you can't contest, and second Dragon of the game goes to TSM.
There is the additional Baron power as well, so maybe taking in consideration, hey, that is some extra power they have right now. Let's not risk the game on it. But they're up gold, and that was a 4v4, and that's a play I think they could have won, but maybe not willing to go for it with some of the missing summoners, right? Perks doesn't have his flash, so that could be a key difference in that fight potentially. Yep. Again, we have to look at the TSM side. It's Cloud9 that have been starting the plays. It's them that look for the dives. So who's missing summoners? It's Lost and it is Hoonie. Those are the targets. If Lost mispositions, if Hoonie mispositions, expect Cloud9 to hit the go buttons to look for those kills here.
Yep. Well, the TSM Red Bull Baron power play was basically a wash. You got the 1,500 from the kill of Baron, the 3,000 XP from it, and then an equal trade of minions and turrets and kills. So we sit on this 2,000 gold advantage for Cloud9. 3 Dragons to 2. Mountain Soul, certainly still a possibility for Cloud9, but not that far away for TSM either, as the builds are getting finalized pretty soon. One last slot to replace for Perks. 1.5 to go for Power of Evil. AD carry is getting close to done here as well. Anchor's going to land, decent damage, but that's Guardian Angel available, so you're not going to get a ton done. A stun into Azir won't mean much either, and now Vulcan's out of an ultimate.
Yeah, they tagged Spica with the Jin W earlier, so he knew that someone might be in that brush. So he looks for the hook, trying to find a pick. Not the target he was hoping for. At least they proc the Sterix. That is something working in their favor off that little skirmish. But TSM getting out on the map, getting deep vision, trying to take map control here. Feels like the tides are turning a bit as they are getting stronger and stronger. The Azir, Braum, Ashe, this combo, so difficult to actually dive through. But Cloud9 can't just sit back. They've got to continue playing aggressive. They have the side lane in their favor with the GP, and they're still on Soul Point here. It'll be their third straight Soul Point that they can be looking for.
Down goes the wave through mid lane. 3 minutes to go for that one. Only 120 until Baron spawns. Look for that one. Keep in mind, Azonius is on the way for Vulcan. The Knight's Vow is already in for Sword Art to help guarantee that, I'm assuming, Power of Evil does not get one shot. Himself, he's actually gone Demonic Embrace. He's taken a slightly tankier option with some raw health. Keep him a little bit safer on the Azir. Also makes him a decent frontline hitter. Looking at a bit of damage towards Vulcan, but they're okay. Cloud9 want to own the river, but this rush is contested. Off goes the Banshee's Veil. Arrow's gonna have to get flashed. Guardian Angel could be popped off of Speak, but he jumps away. Same for PoE. The shot! Oh! Just sidesteps it, but he burns the Zonius. Can they get in for the rest? No, it's gonna be PoE able to walk away. Sword Art getting low. Gangplank ult over the top, and Sven is on a killing spree. Cloud9 take map control, and the support will be dead for a Baron play.
Sven taking the game into his own hands. They're forcing the flash, forcing the stopwatch off of Power of Evil. He doesn't have a Zonius, so that is a one-use item. He just bought the Demonic Embrace, so he's gonna be far from his Zonias. And again, it's about punishing summoners. That has been the Cloud9 strategy this whole game long. And now you have a target. Stopwatch and flash down for Power of Evil.
You can knock down a wave a little bit, but we know Baron is up right now. And ooh, people are on the opposite side of the map. Looks like Cloud9 did not think just a Sword Art death was enough to set it up for Baron. They take the resets instead. They buy items. It's a stopwatch in for perks. It's just towards the last item for Sven. Maybe a Bloodthirster we're looking at. Maybe a Guardian Angel. We'll see which way he goes. And TSM are able to say, well, we have vision. They didn't Baron. All right, just one kill.
And Fudge has nowhere else to go. He is full build here. Just picked up the LDR. So looking to do some serious damage. We'll see if he's going to be able to connect on those barrel chains. Has had pressure largely throughout the game in the side lane, but it has not resulted in too much. Huni has been doing well to match, and Cloud9 again grouping mid.
Dragon still a possibility. 55 seconds if Cloud9 get the smite. And as your builds are finalized, both top laners are out of things to buy, as you mentioned. It gets a little more interesting. Almost 70,000 gold for both teams. The lead barely measurable in relation to how much these teams actually have. The bottom river right now does belong to Cloud9, easily soloed by Blabber or Sven, or really anyone except for Vulcan. If they get the time, bit of damage towards Spica is going to be okay. Can heal back up. Another fight comes in the front line. Shuffled back, and his ear goes down. 1-0. Blabber staying alive. Lost trying to shoot for his whole life, but it might not be enough. Into the front line they go, trading a Guardian Angel out, but Perks is unstoppable. He's found 2 more kills, chasing the Hootie, chasing towards Spica. Sven has found himself a couple of kills now as well. Unstoppable as Spica is left alone. TSM will fall in game 4. This should be the entire game because the mid lane wave is being pushed. Cloud9 have been fighting back and forth and scrapping back and forth, and now they get the ace, and they will also get the base. We are going to game 5. Cloud9 and TSM delivering, going the distance.
What a game from Cloud9, so consistently punishing missing summoners from TSM. The relentless aggression here, that is signature Cloud9. Perks is pumped, the hat is off, and he is on fire in this game on the Syndra. Man, every single time a flash is down, you know that they're going to go for it. TSM knows they're going to go for it, but the engages had no hesitation.
Yeah.
Instant dashes in, and I liked how they layered the abilities. Oftentimes, it was, Hook as well as the Xin dashing in immediately. They forced the dash from the Azir. They forced the flashes out. The GPLT is now dropped on you. You have no immediate escape. And the damage just getting piled in, full commitment to these aggressive plays. That's the way you have to play it against Ashe, Braum, Azir. They were able to execute, and this is the best game Cloud9 has played in this series so far. And we are going to game 5. This is looking like such an exciting finish.
It's going to be a fun one. Game 5 is coming. Blue sets win every single time. So maybe TSM feels comfortable in the next one. But, hey, it's been an absolute battle of old gods. We've got silver scrapes to top it off. Crank it up, and we'll see you on the other side.
And frankly, when I look at this series, to me, it's already over. TSM have been dominating every single game. I do not see a comeback happening. I think the comeback strategy for Cloud9 is go next year.
You see that? You see that, ladies and gentlemen? That is the face of a man who just realized he's no longer a prophet. My friend.
That's a different dimension.
Oh, my goodness. But here's the deal. You know it couldn't have happened any other way. When it comes to TSM and Cloud9, it's always got to go 5 games, 1 spot at Worlds, 1 shot to keep your hopes at an LCS championship alive. And both of these teams are hungry for it. This time around, though, Cloud9 in Game 4. Just that much hungrier.
And 1 fewer hat. You know?
Yes!
We talked about all these changes we wanted them to
No
make.
cap.
They were like, no, we're not going to switch hats. We're just, no cap.
No
we
cap.
Said, no, we're not going to ban Lee Sin. We're going to play into it. I loved it. You know, they were confident in their prep going into this draft. And if we look at this draft, you know, I actually like the GP especially, right?
Yeah.
Because it gives you such long-range engage options, and it's also a pick that has to get punished early. Otherwise, you just get to a point where you're dropping an ult on Ash's head, you're dropping an ult on Azir's head, you're firing Jhin ult to follow that up, and it's incredibly hard to see.
Well, Crumbs, I know it was you, I think it was in Game 1, who said, where's the GP picks? Where is that in this series? But as well, we have to recognize the Syndra coming out, because we talked about for Perks. Okay, if you
Thank God.
can't get the LeBlancs, you look towards the Syndra, and he picks it up.
Well, yeah, so Syndra was not banned in this game is the most important thing. And that allowed C9 to get their hands on Syndra. I actually really like Jhin Syndra as a combination. I don't like Jhin in a vacuum. I think he has a lot of
Get him out of the
problems.
vacuum.
But
That's not where he
this team
belongs. It's too
composition,
quiet in there.
especially with the Syndra first setup, with the Nautilus first setup, and then the GP ult on top of that, we saw that multiple times in this
Yes.
game. It funnels, especially if you miss position, it funnels you into a narrow corridor where you cannot escape that GP damage. And meanwhile, Sven is just, you know, firing at the back
Hot
lane.
shots.
No one is near him.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect setup.
In this fight, TSM is thinking that they can actually just pick off Vulcan because he oversteps, and it's exactly what they move forward to that Emily is describing, that they funnel, and then the Gangplank ultimate really splits them apart. This was really important because this snipe at the very end ends up giving the Baron over to Cloud9, and then after Power of Evil made that brilliant play at Baron, he's thinking, I should do this again. I can go for it. I catch 2 members out, and while Blabber does buy some time with the stopwatch, the saving grace here isn't the Jhin on the left, but rather Perks. He kills PoE on the side, rotates over, presses R on Huni, deletes him, and then the fight continues where they're able to kill every single member on TSM off this.
Yeah, and you know, all of the excellent play from C9 aside, I think this is easily the best game they played this series, irrespective of win or loss. TSM did not get a lead early game here, or at least not a major lead, and I think that was the big difference. It was a much quieter game for the first 15, 20 minutes of the game, and I think a lot of why C9 was able to have such a dominant mid to late game was because they weren't having turns dictated to them all game, and they looked a lot more coordinated as a result. I think going into this next match, what we need to see from TSM is a draft that actually, I can't believe I'm saying this, allows them to play early game more.
Wow.
Because that's what's been successful for them against C9, and it's where C9 has looked shakiest. Granted, they did look for picks with the Ashe and the Braum roaming around constantly, but they weren't able to get them.
Yeah, time and time again, though, we see that point that you made, Emily, about the way the fights played out, coming to fruition in the late game, the difficulty of TSM to be able to kite back through a GP ult while being peppered with the Jhin curtain call and the stuns coming across from the Syndra. It just showed such an amazing bit of Cloud9's understanding of the way to play their team comp, even though I think a lot of people might look at that champion select and go, well, if it goes late, Azir, Ashe is going to feel really good in the late game. And in fact, they found it very difficult to play the team fights.
I think that's one really important thing that I noticed from Cloud9 here is that they understood how to play their composition better than in previous games. Specifically, Blabber on Xin was so much more impressive because normally on Xin, you have the fine line between going in and surviving with these massive shields and heals, or you're just running it down, right? It's a fine line between losing your team the game or engaging against the right target and winning, which we saw this time before. But it's something that oftentimes has cost them the games because they're uncoordinated and they're not sure whether he's going to live or die.
Yeah, and I think Vulcan also was a lot more proactive and able to be impactful. We saw him going for a lot of flash hook engages, and granted, not all of them were successful, but sometimes it was enough for him to just blow the enemy flashes. And this is really impactful in team fights when, again, there's a Jhin ult coming at you, there's a GP ult coming at you. So overall, I thought this wasn't like a standout performance from any individual member of C9. I think they all stepped up as a unit.
It's been very cool to watch what both of these teams have come to the Rift with today throughout our 4 games. But as we know, it all comes down to the 5th and final game. TSM choosing to go back to blue side is already raising questions in my brain about the feasibility of getting a Syndra in Perks' hands. Probably not happening this time around. And so where do you find similar answers if you're in the C9 camp for Perks and Agency? On the side of TSM, Kaizen, you already tipped your cap to, hey, maybe a little bit more early game, a little bit more control and ability, to build those goal leads. But really, at this point, man, I'm glad to not be in either coach's position.
It's tough.
I don't want the responsibility of having to figure out what tools we want to work with.
I think when we talk about TSM's early game, though, it's come from Speak as Lee Sin, right? And it's come from going topside, typically. So for TSM, I'm looking at that, but I'm also thinking that a lot of the compositions they've won with have late game scaling options built in, right?
Wouldn't it just be wild if they banned out the Lee Sin?
It
Wouldn't
would.
it just be wild?
I don't think it's gonna happen.
I know!
Especially if they don't drop the Ziggs ban.
Yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I want to see Leona for Sword Art. I think the Braum has been good in the situations where he's picking them. He's picking them into situations where he can deny a lot of the abilities of the enemy team. But when I think about what Sword Art enables for his team, it's being able to disrupt lanes by roaming constantly. And I don't think Braum does it as well as Leona. So I think it's not so much about the mid lane picks. I think irrespective of what PoE plays, I think it's usually jungle and support getting the early game going for TSM.
I like the call on both those two, and I think the one little variety I would add to this is that TSM can still maintain the priority on Lee Sin because clearly Cloud9 isn't valuing it as high, which means that you can first pick whether it's the Syndra or the Leona if you'd like, and count on Cloud9 not picking Lee Sin in their first rotation since they're not as comfortable on it. So I think TSM can pinch these other roles if they think it's more important, and I'm leaning towards that side because you would be denying a more important teammate of Cloud9 than would be Blabber.
I think it's just coming to a culmination in the best possible ways where it feels like, as you mentioned, Cloud9 has just played their best game of the series, where TSM, on the other hand, for the first 3 games, definitely looked like the superior of the 2 teams. Yeah. But it's down to a best of 1 at this point. It's just a best of 1 that separates both of our perennial powerhouse teams from a trip to Worlds. It's years of rivalry, glory, legacy. All of that is coming down to one final battle between the old gods of the LCS. We'll meet you here right after this. I hear some silver scraping.
Let's go!
That's the best sound for a Sunday. Yeah?